life is what you do now, not what you plan to do in the future.
This is the Game Changers Experience. Deep dive conversations with leading business disruptors, Olympic athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and influencers from around the world. This show will teach you insights about the winning principles in mindset, productivity, marketing, branding, entrepreneurship, business strategy, and more. Hosted by Productivity Authority, business strategist, former elite athlete, author, and public speaker, Adam Strong.
I'm very lucky that I always joke that I spend half my life in a suit and half my life in Lycra. And it's probably not that, but you know what I mean. So I've got a finance career. I'm a partner in an early stage investment fund. We back early stage science, engineering, and technology businesses. We've got a portfolio of 12, soon to be 13 companies. We've invested, and co-invested 25 million into these fantastic ideas, typically coming out of Scottish University. So, my background's economics. And people don't know that. If they follow me on Instagram, they think I spend my life riding a bike. I love riding my bike, but I spend my entire, whether you're talking about growing an early stage science company or pedaling around the world in 80 days, you're still about getting the right team around it, tightening time frames, building strategy, fundraising, all these key components. So you have remarkably similar conversations. And my skill set, I always say I'm not the world's best bike rider. I live in Edinburgh in Scotland. I'm not the best bike rider in Edinburgh. And yeah, I've got all these world records because I've had the confidence to do stuff that other people haven't stepped out to try. And, I've backed myself, I've built the team, and I understand how to build these mega projects, which is a completely different skill set than knowing your FTP and, knowing how fast you can be on a bicycle. I'm 6'3" and 90 kilos. I'm not the world's best bike rider. And yet I've not just broken, but I've obliterated these world records. I've created these huge leaps in performance because of planning, because of team, because of the strategies around it. And I've failed a number of times, but you're never going to have an entrepreneurial career without, some pretty significant knocks as well. So do I get balance? Yes, you're right. Because I can't, when you talk about the grind and that sort of battle of attrition that people feel, that sort of isolation and loneliness of work, for me, you need to have sort of the metaphoric sort of arrows coming in the way at times, getting quite obsessed about what you're doing. And at other times, you need to get the arrows pointing the other way, be that community, family. What's your wider impact on the world outside of making money? And I think the entrepreneurial journey can just become about, accumulating wealth. And if I was to break down, the scarcest commodity is not money, it's time. And if you break it down more clearly, you think, well, what do you want to be, your legacy? It's not going to be about, the size of your mortgage or, your monthly outgoings. It's going to be about three things. It's going to be about family. It's going to be about community, local, nationally, and globally. And it's going to be about your work, the things you're passionate about. So those three spheres need equal thought in terms of how you create positive impact and time. So I think the grind that you're talking about is if you get too blinkered, too lost in one of them, you can get entirely lost in your family and work suffers. How many people have prioritized work for decades and then suddenly realize they missed their kids growing up? Or how many people think, well, hey, I'll take third sector charitable roles and, try and take on, feel good positions once I've lived my career and taken care of family. And then, you do these things in your 50s and 60s. Nothing wrong with that if you come to it late. But my point is, life is what you do now, not what you plan to do in the future. And so you're never too young to start thinking about all of these things. And you can't kick the ball down the road with any of these important impacts in your life. So if you want to be connected to the world around you, there's a big bad problem out there right now. You've got to create time to address that. And I'm not saying this because you want to sort of be a goody two shoes. I'm doing it because it's fundamentally good for your mental health. It's fundamentally good for your sense of purpose and well-being. Because if all you do is put your blinkers on and, grind away at work to make money, guess what? You're going to be fundamentally unhappy because you're going to lack purpose and connections to wider things. So it's been a horrible year for so many strands of my work, but luckily I don't do one thing. And I think for anyone who does one thing in their life, it becomes a chore. It becomes a real grind. You gotta sort of think sort of broader than that. Like, how do I sort of how do I make sure for my own sense of purpose, let alone the impact I can have on the wider world, that I'm actually prioritizing other stuff than, work. And I think people that really struggle is just because their chips are in on one thing.